Okay, so in this video, I'm going to cover a different aspect of coding interviews and how you can crack them. So basically, I'm going to cover the communication and personality development things that are also required in cracking coding interviews. And when I went to, I've already attended a lot of coding interviews, and I've now understood that only understanding a lot of and doing a lot of competitive programming problems are not going to help you out a lot in cracking the coding interviews. So basically, I have actually covered some of the very important topics that comes from my experience in coding interviews, and I think that these are going to really be helpful for all of those guys who are actually going to go and attend some coding interviews of some companies. And these are the points that comes from real experience. So this video is going to be really helpful for you guys. So make sure to watch this video till the end. So make sure to support our channel by liking this video and sharing this video with others also, so that we can also grow, and make sure to subscribe our channel because I keep creating these awesome content for you guys, right? So without any delay, let's start with the very first thing, which is the communication skills. And before that, I'm going to cover a very important thing, which is knowledge. So the very first thing about coding interviews is you need to have a good knowledge. So let's say you are giving a coding interview in Java, you must have good knowledge of Java and data structures, coding problems. If you do not have good knowledge, your communication skills, your confidence and everything will not work. It will totally shatter down in pieces. And when you will go to an interview, the interviewer will ask you, no matter how much good your personality is, no matter how much good your communication skills are, you will just lose your confidence. And that's basically very important, that you have the good knowledge. Next is a very important thing. Even if the interviewer asks you some questions, it's not always 100% that even if you have covered everything, interviewer will ask you some tricky questions. It may happen that you don't know the answers of it, right? So don't panic. So that's the very important thing, that if you have knowledge, the second important thing is do not panic, right? The reason why you should not panic is because it is going to lower down your confidence, and it will lower down your communication skills, and you are almost like, I'm giving up, I don't know anything and all that stuff. Don't do that. It's always that you might have studied a thing which looks very simple, the question is very simple, but you're not able to answer it for some reason. So do not panic in the coding interviews. If you don't know the answer, make sure to understand. If you have understand the topic, just try to answer it. Just try to communicate with the interviewer, because if you're not going to do that, if you will just say that no, I don't know the answer, it is really a bad technique, right? So when you are in an interview, a question is asked from you, and now let's say the question is, what is the application of doubly linked list, right? And most of the people, let's say they have not covered this topic, and it's a very simple question if you see that. But once you are in an interview and you are not, the answer is not clicking, what you can do is you can actually tell the interviewer about what is a doubly linked list, and you can tell the thinking process of the of that certain problem. And that's okay, and that's much better than saying a no to the interview, right? If you will say that no, I don't know the answer, it's like you're dropping the communication off, right? So try to just avoid that, right? So let's move on to the next very important point that I have written here: communicate like human, not a robot, right? This is a very important thing. Now I've done a lot of interviews from my college placements also. One important thing is, when we were giving an interview, my classmates were also giving an interviews. So when they come out of the interview process, they say that we were rejected because we didn't have the right communication skills. Due to the lack of communication skills, I was not able to communicate with the interviewer in the right fashion. The reason behind this is that there are so many myths that if you go to an interview, you will have to be formal, you will have to follow certain rules and that stuff, which is not true at all. The interviewer is also a human. You are not a robot, he is not a robot. So whenever he asks you a question, he do not expect that you will answer it exact way, right? He do not expect you to be a parrot or a human or a robot, right? So what you will have to understand is that when you are in an interview, the major thing is that you are going to use some examples, some real life scenarios or some real life examples to explain a topic, right? For example, let's say the interviewer asks you what is a stack data structure, right? So instead of saying that this is a stack data structure and talking like a parrot, it will basically tell the interviewer that you are not good at these skills, right? And these communication skills are important because you have a group discussion round also, and in that group discussion you will basically get kicked out because these skills are important because you will have to connect and communicate with your team members also, right? So I always say this, coding interviews are basically, they're structured not in a way that you will solve tons of competitive programming problems and then you will just get into a certain company, right? It doesn't work like that. You will have to be very good at personality development. You will have to get the right knowledge and no need to panic, right? So the next point here that I've written here is personality development and all of these skills, right? So when we're talking about communication, it is important that you communicate to with the interviewer in a way that he understands what you are saying, right? Whatever solution you are giving him, you will also have to ask him counter questions, right? Make sure you don't question a lot, because the interviewer is going to ask you more questions. So make sure you try to ask very good questions so that the interviewer will say will understand that the candidate, which is you have good knowledge, and that's why you are asking these good questions, right? So the third point I'm going to write here is communicate with the interviewer plus give some real life examples, right? So this is a very important point, and remember that all of these points are important when you are going to an interview. Make sure you practice them. Make sure that you watch some English series or some movies which are in English, because most of the interviews are going to be conducted in English language. So the questions that he will ask you, if you're not good at English, if you are just not good at communicating in English, it may impact, right? So make sure you watch movies, you understand some important terms and all of that stuff, because it is going to help you there, right? So make sure to understand how to answer the questions, and that's a very important point here. Now let's move on to the next very important point. Okay, so the next important point is using eye contact and gestures. Now I know that this is a COVID situation and most of you guys will be doing interviews on let's say online mode, and basically even if you're doing it offline, online, it does not matter. The first thing is you will have to make a good eye contact and you will have to explain things using the gestures. Now gestures include that your expressions that you are doing, and make sure it's not overacting and it's not lowered, right? You should not sound like a robot, right? You should not be stiff, standing stiffly, and you are not answering the questions right, and you are stiff and you are not communicating. In that case, the interviewer will have no choice but to kick you out of the interview, right? So you will have to make sure that you have a good body posture and you are using your gestures, like your hands in a certain way, to actually tell the examples to the interviewer. And you also have a good eye contact, because let's say the interviewer is asking you questions and you're looking here and there and like that, it is going to give a bad impression, right? Important note about online mode is that whenever you are giving an interview in the online mode, always look at the camera lens, right? So if you have a laptop, it has a webcam. Do not look at anywhere else. Just focus on the webcam and just put your eyes on the webcam, because that way only you are going to watch right into the screen, right into the eyes of interviewer, and it will give a good impression to him also. So the next point I'm going to write here is using eye contact and gestures. Now the important point is that you must have good English communication. So I'm going to write here, you must have good understanding of English language and you must know how to communicate using English, right? So because most of the interviews are conducted in English language, so you will have to do that. For that, you can watch English movies and you can actually try to understand how the characters inside that movie is actually speaking, what are their accents and all of that stuff. Even I am learning this communication skills because it also impacts my videos also. I keep getting a lot of comments that you must improve your English. So I don't have good English communicating skills right now at this point, but I'm still watching a lot of series, a lot of English movies, so that I can actually improve my accent and all of these stuff. And you can also do that, because when you're working in teams, when you're working in the actual environment in a company, you will be using, and when you're also dealing with the clients which the company has, when you're dealing with them, they are going to talk in English, so you will have to make sure that your English is good. So it's really important, right? So basically that's all for this video. Make sure to support us by subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.